The morning sun poured through the vast glass walls of San Francisco International Airport, casting a golden glow across the polished floors. 4-year-old Micah Desai clutched his guardian's hand, his small frame brimming with excitement as he caught sight of the gleaming Horizon Star charter waiting at Gate A11. To most, it was just another flight. But to Micah, it was Magica Sky adventure wrapped in the promise of wonder. Today was no ordinary day. He was flying first class, something he'd only heard about in bedtime stories or seen in his dad's travel photos. Reclining leather seats, warm blankets, shiny screens, and maybe tray of chocolate chip cookies were dancing in his imagination. Beside him stood his guardian, Mrs. Holloway, a gentle woman in her early 50s, appointed by Micah's father to accompany him to St. Lucia. She knelt down, brushing a stray curl from his forehead. "You ready to give Daddy your drawing?" she asked, her voice soft as she smoothed out the creased edges of the artwork Micah gripped tightly in his tiny hand. It was a crayon-colored airplane soaring through cotton ball clouds, with "For Daddy" scribbled beneath in careful, practiced letters. Micah nodded solemnly, as if this mission carried the weight of the world. His father, Dev Desai, CEO of Horizon Star Airlines, wouldn't be flying with him today. He was grounded in meetings at the company's headquarters, preparing for that evening's ceremony, where he'd be honored as CEO of the year. But the flight mattered. For Micah, this was his chance to be close to his dad in spirit and to deliver the drawing that, in his heart, meant more than any trophy. As they made their way down the jet bridge, the quiet hush of the A350's first-class cabin wrapped around them like velvet. With pale wood paneling, sky-blue carpeting, and wide cream-colored seats, it felt like a floating castle in the clouds. But no sooner had they entered than the mood shifted. A flight attendant in a spotless Navy uniform stood with her hands clasped, her expression cool and unreadable. She nodded briefly at Mrs. Holloway, but said nothing. Her eyes narrowed slightly when they fell on Micah. Still, Micah pressed forward, his eyes widening at the sight of his seat. It was perfect, like a throne made just for him. He placed his drawing gently on the small side table and looked around, already imagining the flight. Then, the flight attendant spoke. Her voice was clipped and devoid of warmth. "I'm sorry, but passengers under 6 aren't permitted in this cabin. You'll need to take him to business class." Micah's smile faltered. He turned to the woman, his voice trembling. "But Daddy said this is where I wait for him." Mrs. Holloway stepped in calmly. "He has a medical condition," she explained. "We were advised this cabin would be the most suitable environment. It's quieter, less stressful." The attendant's eyebrows lifted with thin skepticism. "Company policy is strict. Children under 6 must be seated elsewhere." She gestured toward the stairs leading down to business class. Micah's hand curled tightly around his drawing. "I'm sorry," he whispered, tears rising in his eyes, his small frame shrinking with shame. Mrs. Holloway bent to pick him up. "It's okay, sweetheart. Daddy will still see your drawing." But as they turned to leave, the attendant glanced at the paper resting on the table and flicked it casually. It fluttered to the floor. Micah scrambled down, the thick blanket slipping from his shoulders, and reached for it. As he touched it, the attendant kicked it away again. "Please," he said quietly. "It's for Daddy." Her lips twisted in disdain. She reached down, snatched up the paper, and without a word, tore it clean down the middle. The colors split violently, and Micah let out a soundless gasp, like a balloon deflating. Around them, no one said a word. Some glanced over and then quickly away, choosing the safety of silence over the courage of decency. Mrs. Holloway scooped him up again, murmuring soft reassurances as she guided him to business class. He clutched the torn halves of his drawing against his chest, his cheeks streaked with silent tears. Later, in his new seat, a flight attendant offered him juice and a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. He shook his head. The only thing he wanted was the drawing, the one that was now broken. Mrs. Holloway reached in her bag and pulled out a fresh sheet of paper. "You could draw another one," she said, gently flipping the notebook open. Micah stared at the blank page. He saw the image of the other drawing being torn again and again. "No," he whispered. "I don't want to draw anymore." His bracelet, green and sleek, a gift from his father, glowed faintly on his wrist. It was supposed to be for safety, something fun, something comforting. But now, it felt like a fragile reminder of the love that had tried and failed to protect him. Back in first class, the attendant, whose name was Clara Winslow, was unbothered. She moved about, arranging flutes and trays, her heels clicking like punctuation on polished floors. In her mind, the matter was closed. Rules were rules. Order had been preserved. Children, she believed, had no place among champagne and caviar. She leaned against the galley wall, satisfied with the silence. But at 37,000 feet, silence doesn't mean safety. Not when a father is watching. At Horizon Star headquarters, Dev Desai froze in his office chair. A small alert blinked on his screen. Micah's bracelet had triggered the failsafe. He watched, in real time, a muted video feed beam from the cabin. He saw the drawing, saw it ripped, saw his son fold into himself like paper. Dev's jaw tightened. With a few keystrokes, he activated the emergency override built into every in-flight system. It was a measure designed for crises never meant for moments like this. But cruelty, Dev decided, was a crisis. Back on the plane, the personal entertainment screens went black. Everyone. Then white text appeared. Horizon Star Airlines incident protocol engaged. A second later, Dev's voice filled the cabin. "This is Dev Desai, CEO of Horizon Star Airlines. We apologize for the treatment of one of our youngest passengers. Effective immediately, this flight will be grounded upon arrival, pending investigation. Thank you for your patience. Justice will be served." Gasps rippled across the cabin. In business class, Micah looked up. "Daddy," he whispered. "Mrs." Holloway grasped his hand as relief bloomed across her face. "He's here, sweetheart." He saw. Screens across both cabins lit up with the image of Clara ripping the drawing. First-class passengers looked on, their polished faces suddenly pale. The illusion shattered. Privilege offered no cover now. Clara's hands trembled. Her lips parted in a soundless protest. But her fate was sealed. A steward approached quietly. "Ms. Winslow, please come with me." Her walk to the jump seat was silent. Each click of her heels, once proud, now echoed like guilt across the cabin. Micah watched her go. "She looks scared," he said. "She is Mrs." Holloway replied. "She's learning." The plane touched down in Miami under emergency diversion orders. When the cabin doors opened, sunlight poured in and with it, a wave of Horizon Star staff in navy blazers. Passengers remained seated as Dev boarded. His presence was quiet, but undeniable. He approached Micah and knelt beside him. "You okay, buddy?" Micah nodded. "You stopped it." Dev pulled him into a hug, his voice thick. "No one hurts you. Ever." They exited together. Applause followed. A press line waited on the tarmac. At the podium, Dev addressed the nation. "We failed," he said plainly, "and we will fix it." Sandra Winslow was placed on administrative leave, then later officially terminated. Horizon Star launched new family-first protocols, sensory-safe suites, child advocate training, a hotline for in-flight injustice. Real steps. Micah returned home in his father's arms. That night, he pulled out a blank page. "I want to draw again," he said. Dev smiled. "Only if we keep it safe. Together." And they did. Weeks later, on a new flight, seated side by side in first class, Micah handed his father a fresh drawing. The airplane had wings wider than before, and across the fuselage, in crayon block letters, it read, "Horizon Star, where everyone belongs." And for the first time in forever, the sky felt safe again.